Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Beauty of Grey. Today, I'm joined by my fantastic co-host. Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
Hello, Jake.
Hello.
We are excited because on today's episode, we are going to be talking about witch talk, and we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, the ugly. And this is a topic that is near and dear to Michelle's heart. So we're gonna,
yes.
we're gonna pivot it off to Michelle, and Michelle, take it away.
Oh God, thanks.
You're welcome.
So witch talk. I love and I hate it so much.
Oh, interesting. It's almost like fuck it, and I love it.
Exactly. Well, it's okay. To get to the straight point that there's so much information out there when it comes to witchcraft. And witch talk seems to take that and like mash it up and like spit on it and then throw it out and see what happens.
Oh, interesting.
No offense. Because look, there are some great creators on TikTok that are witches that actually are there to educate and to help and genuinely are fantastic humans and really want to help people. And then there's the ugly side of witch talk where like where we're like there was a whole thing like I don't know, this was like what 2-3 years ago, probably during COVID, where, and I hate the term baby witches. It just, I'm like, you're not a baby, stop it. Like you're a beginner, stop it.
Oh yeah, good point. There's a difference.
Yes, like it drives me crazy. But anyway, that's just my own personal pet peeve. But there was this whole thing a couple of years ago where there were beginner witches that wanted I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's kind of hilarious. Wanted to hex the moon and the underworld and certain gods and goddesses. And I'm just like, no, honey, no, no. We're not doing that.
Michelle, as you say that, all I can think about is Despicable Me and like them stealing the moon and all the minions supporting Gru. That's all I can think about. But please go ahead. That's all I can think about.
That's essentially
Banana.
what like I didn't like that's what I picture as well. Like it's so silly to me. And like I get it. Like it came from a very like, from what I understand, it came from a very visceral place because apparently they had in the smaller community within witch talk, they had lost somebody.
Sad.
And it's very sad. But they were blaming
The
like
moon?
kids, like what kids do when they don't understand something. They try to blame something and try
blame
to
a celestial body.
Exactly. Where you're like, you can't hex the moon, honey.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad that you said that because I had no idea. I couldn't find one single video that would give me clarity. I had no idea. I was looking everywhere. I was like, what's the mission statement? What's the plan? What's the end goal? You know?
Yeah.
What did the moon do to us? And why do we have to be mad at her?
And why is there such
Exactly.
anger? Such anger towards the moon?
Well, I also feel like it was trying to be like this like flex because that's where like witch talk was really starting to gain momentum. And I feel like there's this whole trope of and it's partly true, to be perfectly honest, that and we've talked about this, that like witchcraft is gaining in popularity.
Yes.
And it's becoming very trendy. And that is, I feel like, is a good thing and also a bad thing.
Yeah.
Where it's a good thing where I feel like people are finally like, they're sick of like their day to day and they're tired of regulated religions. So they want to go to something that's a little bit more spiritual, something that they can feel a little bit more control of.
Right.
But then on the bad side of that, you have people that are spewing out information that is incorrect and people just like taking it in like
it's fact.
Exactly. And you're like, no, you're gonna hurt yourself or somebody else if you don't take the time to properly educate yourself and to look up information and do your own research. Like people just take things on TikTok for face value. And like there's girls that are like oh God, they're like 15, 16 years old, and they're doing spell work, and even adults doing spell work on TikTok.
Like
And now look,
like on video.
yes, like
wow,
now
interesting.
I to each their own. I
Of
will
course.
preface it with that. However, I just don't agree with it because I'm like,
Mhm.
you don't know what energy somebody is throwing into that. Like you don't know, um, you just don't know. Like you're
Mhm.
putting your spell work onto a video for potentially thousands of people to look at. And like, yes, you're trying to educate, but at the same time, like if that's your own personal spell work, it should be your own personal spell work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what kind of bothers me. Like that's why like I don't post. Like I might talk about spell work, but
Right.
I'm not going to post my own personal stuff.
Of course.
And that's why like
Right.
a lot of the time I don't even advertise that I do spell work for other people because I'm like I don't want to.
Right.
You know
And
what I
that's
mean?
it's kind
So
of like it's a private thing. Like I feel like spell
yes,
work, and if I were to reach out to Michelle or Jake for, spell assistance, like I want that between me and the practitioner. Like I don't want
definitely.
everyone in the United States and the world to know, like, hey, guess what? How about for you, Jake? When you hear witch talk, what comes up to mind for you?
um
Guys.
I mean everything. My God, everything. I love it, I hate it, I love to hate it, um
Mhm.
I don't know. The thing about witch talk is that it really, I love that there is a platform where people can have access to other content creators who
Mhm.
maybe have experience. But I
Definitely.
also don't necessarily enjoy that, it is also a place where, we can really all just kind of go online and just declare ourselves, a
Witch.
high priestess, or,
Oh God, that drives me
some
crazy.
something of the sorts, because there's a lot in witchcraft. It's not just frivolous, lighting a candle, or it's not just a spell, or
Right.
whatever that might be. So
Mhm.
you'll come across the video, and then all of a sudden people see this video of a practitioner doing, I don't know, a spell jar, and don't get me started on those. And they'll just run to try to do it, and it's just like, it's not Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's
Exactly.
a foundation. It's a spiritual practice where people
Mhm.
are learning tools and resources to then use energy, focus energy, pull energy, direct it, and then create it in the way of spell work or of
Mhm.
something of the sort. I mean, we'll just scroll every once in a while, and then somebody will be making something as easy as a jar, and then they'll say, I don't know, it'll be for a love or to get back an ex-boyfriend, which God bless. And then you'll
Wait,
just be looking.
what?
Oh, it's great. It's a godless zone, and I love it.
It's a godless
Um,
zone.
Yes.
and you'll be watching even things as easy as like herbal ingredients in a spell jar. You'll be
Which could be
watching it and you'll be like,
dangerous.
but don't even get me started. It's sometimes it's just asinine, where you'll be looking at the ingredients that they put in, and you're like, girl, are you trying to get a lover back or beat a speeding ticket? What are we doing here? We can't just put, salt, cinnamon, and fucking a bay leaf and call it a spell.
And just hope for the exactly. Oh my gosh,
And toss it to the
exactly.
wind.
Or like, I
Yes.
love when it's like contradictory ingredients, which I love. It's like
Mhm.
you'll see like chili flakes, trying to get like something like that. And I'm like, ooh, I love
Yeah.
where this is going, even though it's not going where you're trying to get it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
want to
so
ask you this,
true.
guys, because if you're both on this and you're seeing it and you're like, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Do you comment and say, listen, where you're going is not where you think you're going? Or you're just like, have fun. Good luck.
Not at all, because let me just tell you,
Sure.
You don't want the
Witch Talk
lashback.
Witch Talk is not a place that openly invites people kind of being
Oh,
proven wrong or being invited to learn something
Mhm.
new. You
constructive
know,
criticism is not for them.
we're in a very difficult time, I think, in terms of social media, where people like to say, nothing really has rules, and you can't invalidate somebody else's truth,
Mm.
even if their truth is misinformed. um
Yeah.
Oh,
so I mean, it happens like clockwork all the time. You'll see somebody that you follow on TikTok that you love as a creator,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're gone because they've commented and said, hey honeys, just to put this out there, that's from a closed practice, or that is not what that's not going to give you what you think it's
Kind of
going to bring you.
sad.
It is
Yeah.
really sad. And I mean, I it's unfortunate because it definitely loses that really intimate process of teaching yourself the craft or learning from somebody that you
Mhm.
trust or found. because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be somewhere that people can have their roots down, you know, and find a foundation, find power,
exactly,
and where you find
be
your
a part of a
community.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello,
Exactly.
Michelle.
Be a
You
part,
know,
exactly. You got this.
yeah, so it's there's so much potential to it, and I think that it does a lot more harm than good, unfortunately. And I
Mm.
think, but I will say at the same time, because of TikTok and how many people are on it, you know, you're probably gonna have to scroll a very long time until you find something that's probably ethically dangerous or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It's really just a bunch
Yeah,
of BS, you know, folding paper, putting it in a cauldron, and just saying that that's something, which it can
exactly.
be.
It
It
can
can
Oh
be.
be,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
you
Well,
know.
but people don't, I don't feel like that's the thing, is that like I feel like people don't really understand a lot when it comes to witchcraft, that it's like, yes, okay, your intention matters, but there's a reason why certain herbs have been used for
Right.
centuries. Like they have certain properties
Hmm.
that's supposed to like it's not just like throw a bunch of herbs and shit in a cauldron, exactly, and then
Get those
hope
chili
for like,
flakes.
it's like, well, my intention mean like, no, sometimes it doesn't matter, honestly, sometimes your intention, because if you have just a whole bunch of crap in a bowl, like what is
It's
that
not gonna
going to
work.
do?
That's
Exactly.
it's interesting as you say that, because as when you're mentioning that, what immediately comes to mind is crystal chaos. And when you put
Mhm.
in too many crystals, like you can't just put
Yes,
500 crystals together and think that you're going to manifest tremendous amount of abundance, because you've put these
exactly.
crystals together that aren't in community with one another, and it's going
Hmm.
to cause chaos, and they're just gonna be like, no, we're good, we're not working. Like, so I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Now, what would you recommend for maybe a beginner witch or somebody that's interested in TikTok as their go-to social media? How
Mhm.
would you kind of say, all right, use your discernment? Like, what's maybe some advice you can give them of maybe finding a practitioner that they might jive with?
Don't.
Amen.
Sorry, like,
You can tell
I
this is,
mean,
I don't listen to, I don't watch, I don't listen, I don't go on TikTok, so I'm ignorant. So I'm like, "Meh," like,
it
so
might
don't, guys.
honestly, my advice would be to, if you want to seek out an actual person
Yeah.
that's going to help you, try to look to
Michelle
your
is teaching
community.
a Witchcraft 101 class. Ricky
Side
rocks.
notes, just so everyone knows, starts May 1st.
Jake might be teaching one. I don't know. He
Secure
doesn't
your
like to
tickets
teach.
now.
It's
I do.
okay.
I know, you take a break though.
Nothing wrong
Sorry.
with that.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. I TikTok should not be
Your
the
go-to
first place that you
source.
go. Exactly.
I hear
Like,
you 100%.
read books. Go
Yes.
and like, there's some wonderful, they're few and far between, but there's some wonderful places on Facebook that have really good tight knit communities
Mhm.
that are very helpful. You do have to kind of search through, because a lot of times you don't really, like, it's just kind of like fluff content, which is fine, whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, I do a lot of fluff content. It's, it is what it is. But definitely, if you're a beginner witch and you're looking to figure out some stuff, TikTok should not be the first place that you go. It can definitely be a resource, but you have to use your discretion. And definitely, like, what I would look for are content creators that are posting on a daily basis, but they have classes and stuff, like, and like if they have like a link tree or something,
Gotcha.
and they have classes available, and they're not like asking like an astronomical amount of money for it, but like, it's most of the time, if people are just giving up entire amounts of information online,
Mhm.
the way I've seen it, the way I find, is that a lot of that information is incorrect.
Ouch.
Yeah.
What about for you, Jake? Don't go to TikTok.
I mean, I would say it's easier to just tell people not to, and to walk backwards
Yeah,
from that
but
after
they
the
would.
fact. I
I mean, they're gonna go.
just I can only speak from my personal experience, being, I, found books, I read through them, and I found
Mhm.
ones that I liked. I found
Mm.
people through YouTube actually was a much better resource for me, to be
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
honest. And just, I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years now, so I mean, I have an informed, a sense of being able to kind of feel it out. You get a sense of somebody, just off of the
Mhm.
dialogue and the jargon that they use. So I mean, if you need like off the head tips, I would say, look out for people who have things like disclaimers in their bios or in their videos.
Yeah.
Or have, places in their feed that talk about informational stuff, what this kind of work does or what this herb is usually used for, and maybe some education in it. A lot of the practitioners that I follow are a little bit more focused on like research and knowledge based rather than just posting, okay, we're gonna make this jar, or we're gonna make this spell, and that's gonna get this intention.
Exactly.
That's usually where you're gonna fare much better. I mean, witchcraft as a whole, is really meant to be specific and personalized to you, and that's not the same thing as being in a coven with other people and having a similar practice or dogma. But the craft, at the end of the day, you as a practitioner should feel like you've got your tools and information that make you feel good about the information that and also curious about the information that you don't know. I think that's the thing with witchcraft and magical community, is that it's really just like this uninhibited desire or thirst for more knowledge.
Yes.
That's the role of the witch, typically is the teacher of the community, the one that feeds the homeless, the one that takes care of other people that are without. There's a lot of tradition around magic and witchcraft that has been
they're
lost.
the healers. They're the healers.
I mean, I think that's fascinating. For definitely trust your discernment, seek out community. I mean, I'll ask Michelle and Jake and say, what books do you recommend? And then I'm given, like, I feel like I've got an amazing library of information that I can tap into. So anything else you guys want to add for our witch talk? Michelle?
I mean,
oh my God, I can't even say it. It's like a stumbling block.
I know, witch talk, TikTok,
whatever
it is. Like whatever it is. I mean, just when it comes to witch talk, like just use your discernment, and kind of going off with what you said, Jake, like it is witches and witchcraft. It's so it goes so much deeper than just doing spell work, and it's not just it is when you say you're a practicing witch, like you're always practicing, you're always learning. There is so much out there that, like, to for anybody to come to me and say, like, like I'm an expert in this, and it's like, okay, yes, but then also acknowledge the fact that you still are learning. That someone might come in with something else and like completely blow your mind about something. That happens to me on a daily basis. Where, like I feel comfortable in my knowledge, in being able to teach people. But like I also am hyper aware that there is still so much for me to learn that is that would that would benefit my day to day, and that, like, that's why, like, I'm constantly trying to take in as much as possible. Like nobody's ever going to know the entire thing, so just keep that in mind when it comes to like going with TikTok or any sort of social media, anything.
It does not just it's not TikTok. It could be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Trust your own discernment. And how about for you, Jake?
I mean, it's so funny to even like have this like come into my head, but remember like being in high school, being in like your senior year literature class or your English class, and they would always hammer through, validate your sources, for anything you're going to write a paper on. Make sure you look into the source. Is it creditable? Who wrote this? What's the context? I really think that same thing should apply really all across the board, whether you're reading the news, whether you're learning witchcraft, look into the resources, read some books, take a look at, who the author was, because let me tell you, a lot of the authors that write witchcraft books are not great people. So, and a lot of the teachings don't necessarily age well. So that's why it's important to have context, to have kind of a library that you've looked around and have gotten a feel for. It's a lot of TikTok, unfortunately, is a waste of time because it's just recycled, Scott Cunningham books, which listen, there's gems to be found there. But if it's just people stealing from books, you know, and then just putting it on a video, number one, it's just plagiarism, and number two, it's just
Yes.
somebody repeating things. So
Yeah.
if you so now if you cast a spell that person just taught you, but they read from a book previously, they can't troubleshoot with you, and they
No,
can't tell you
because
what
they
to
don't really
expect
know.
because it's
Yeah.
not personal, you know.
Exactly.
So that's just there's a lot to it.
Well,
There's a lot to it.
something that stuck with me, I had a conversation with Jake a couple months ago, and he said that the real work that's being done in witchcraft is not going to be posted to TikTok.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it's 100%. Yeah.
So with that, oh, go ahead, Michelle. You're gonna say
Oh
something?
no. I was just gonna say that, like, just a lot of witchcraft is like, I mean, it's not just spell work. It's not just like, it's like
Right.
really like looking at who you are and the community that you're in and what you're doing for yourself and for the community and how you're presenting yourself and that energy that you present and what that you put out. And
Yeah.
there's so much more to than just like the aesthetic of being a witch. You know what I mean? Like, what people are so like, oh, I just want to be a witch because of cottagecore, and but I'm like, that's not okay.
I mean, for me, like whenever I hear witchcraft, like it's becoming more for me. It's like I feel like it's community with Mother Earth, and really like going back to my roots, and really going back to nature. And you know, you work with herbs, and it's holistic healing, and it's getting back to the natural way of living. So, with that, Jake, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Oh no, nothing that would be brief.
All right. Well, everyone, nothing that will be brief. All right. So everyone have a great night. Michelle and Jake, you guys have a good night. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Stay spooky.
Good night.